The council chamber stretched wide like a cathedral made of crystal and steel. Hundreds of alien delegates filled the curved rows of seats, their various forms creating a bizarre gallery of shapes and colors. Some had tentacles, others had scales, and a few seemed to float without any visible means of support. At the center of it all, on a modest platform, stood Ambassador Tae-hyun and his small human delegation. Tae-hyun adjusted his collar and tried to keep his face neutral. He had been doing this job for 12 years now, and every single meeting felt the same. The other species talked down to humans like they were children. They made demands. They took what humans offered and gave nothing back. But this time, looking at the document in his hands, he knew something was different. This time they had gone too far. Next to him, Ji-sun read through her datapad with quick, efficient movements. She was the smartest person Tae-hyun had ever met, able to spot problems in contracts that would take others days to find. Her face grew darker with every line she read. On his other side stood Hee-won, a veteran diplomat who had negotiated trade deals with 17 different species. She shook her head slowly. Behind them, Sung-ho, their military advisor, crossed his arms with a look that could cut steel. The youngest member of their team, Na-young, was the economic expert. She had stopped reading entirely and was staring at the alien council with open disgust. Chancellor Thelmon rose from his elevated seat. He was a Velcrosian, tall and thin with purple skin that shimmered under the lights. His people controlled the largest fleet in the known galaxy, or at least they used to before humans showed up. He smiled, showing too many teeth. "We have prepared new regulations for human participation in the Galactic Coalition," Thelmon announced. His voice echoed through the chamber. "These terms are final and not open to discussion." Tae-hyun felt his jaw tighten. Not open to discussion. Of course not. It never was. Thelmon continued reading from the document, his voice dripping with false politeness. "First, all human trade routes will now be taxed at 85%. This is necessary to support coalition infrastructure that benefits everyone." Ji-sun leaned close to Tae-hyun and whispered, "Human ships carry 60% of all galactic trade. We built that infrastructure. They're taxing us for our own work." Thelmon kept talking. "Second, all human technology must be shared with the coalition immediately upon development. This ensures fairness and equality among all member species." Hye-won made a disgusted sound. Tae-hyun knew what she was thinking. The technology sharing had always been one way. Humans gave, aliens took. When humans asked for alien technology in return, they were told it was too complex for human understanding. Third, Thelmon said, his smile growing wider, "Human voting rights will be reduced from 2 seats to half a seat. The council has determined that humans have too much influence for such a young species." The chamber filled with alien chatter and what sounded like approval. Tae-hyun looked around at the delegates. How many of them had humans saved? How many of their colonies existed because human soldiers had died defending them? How many of their sick had been cured by human doctors? And finally, Thelmon said, "All human colonies will accept oversight governors from coalition species. This will help humans learn proper civilization management." The words hit like a physical blow. Oversight governors. They wanted to put alien rulers on human worlds. They wanted to control humanity directly. Tae-hyun stood up. The chamber went quiet. "Chancellor Thelmon, may I respond?" "You may speak," Thelmon said with a dismissive wave. Tae-hyun took a deep breath. "For 30 years, humanity has been part of this coalition. In that time, we have contributed more than most species here. Our engineers fixed the Velcrosian star drives when they were failing. Our doctors developed the cure for Crimson Plague and administered it for free across 6 species. Our soldiers have defended the Outer Rim colonies against pirates and raiders, suffering 90% of all military casualties. We have built, healed, and protected without asking for special treatment." He paused and looked directly at Thelmon. "And now you want to tax us into poverty, steal our technology, strip our political voice, and occupy our colonies. These are not regulations. This is conquest," Thelmon laughed. It was a cold, cruel sound. "Conquest? No, Ambassador. This is reality. Humans are useful, yes, very useful, like tools. But tools do not negotiate with their masters. Tools do not demand equality. Tools serve their purpose." The chamber erupted in laughter. Delegates from a dozen species joined in, their various sounds of amusement creating a horrible chorus. Some banged their appendages on their desks. Others made hooting noises. They were all laughing at humanity. Tae-hyun felt something break inside him. Not anger exactly, something colder. He looked at Ji-sun, who nodded. He looked at Haiwan, who stood up beside him. Sung-ho was already on his feet, and Na-young gathered her materials. "We reject these terms," Tae-hyun said quietly. The laughter died down. Thelmon leaned forward. "If you reject the terms, you will be expelled from Coalition space. No trade agreements. No military protection. No access to Coalition technology or resources. You will be completely isolated." "No," Tae-hyun said. "We quit." The silence was absolute. Every alien in the chamber stared at the human delegation. They looked confused, as if the words did not make sense. "You cannot quit," Thelmon said slowly. "No species has ever left the Coalition voluntarily." "We just did," Ji-sun said. She closed her datapad with a sharp click. Tae-hyun picked up his papers and tucked them under his arm. "For 3 decades we tried to be good partners. We tried to earn respect through service and sacrifice. But you see us as tools, as slaves. We will not accept that." "You need us," Thelmon said, but there was uncertainty in his voice now. "You need our trade networks, our protection, our knowledge." Haiwan laughed, short and bitter. "Do we? Or do you need our ships, our doctors, our soldiers?" Sung-ho added, "I lost 300 good people defending your colonies last year. You didn't even send a message of thanks." Na-young spoke for the first time, her voice sharp. "Your economy runs on human logistics. Your hospitals run on human medicine. Your borders are safe because of human patrols. You think you own us. You're about to learn how wrong you are." Tae-hyun turned and walked toward the exit. His team followed. Their footsteps echoed in the silent chamber. Behind them, Thelmon called out, "You will come crawling back. Humans cannot survive alone." Tae-hyun did not turn around. He did not respond. He just kept walking. The doors closed behind them with a soft hiss. In the council chamber, the silence lasted for nearly a minute. Then the laughter started again. The delegates reassured each other. Humans were proud, they said. Humans were emotional. Humans would realize their mistake within a month and beg to return. Chancellor Thelmon settled back into his seat. "Let them go," he announced confidently. "They need us far more than we need them. They will be back." But as the meeting continued, discussing how to divide up former human responsibilities, no one noticed the small detail that Ji-sun had spotted immediately. The regulations had been designed to break human independence and force them into permanent servitude. The aliens had overplayed their hand. They had forgotten that humans, unlike every other species they had conquered or absorbed, had one unique trait. Humans could walk away from anything, even when it hurt, even when it seemed impossible. And once humans walked away, they never looked back. Captain Young-sik stood on the bridge of the warship Terra's Pride and read the orders for the 3rd time. He still could not quite believe them. "Withdraw all human military forces from Coalition space. Every ship, every station, every soldier. Leave nothing behind. Come home." He had spent 15 years in the defense fleet, 15 years protecting alien colonies from pirates and raiders, 15 years watching his crew die while alien species safe at home called them expendable. Part of him had been waiting for this moment. Another part could not believe it was real. "Captain, we have confirmation from Fleet Admiral Miran," his communications officer said. "All fleets are receiving the same orders. Total withdrawal within 30 days. Young-sik nodded. "Send a message to all ships under my command. Prepare for jump to human space. We leave in 48 hours. Around him, the bridge crew moved with purpose. They were good people, his crew. They had earned their rest. They had earned the right to stop bleeding for people who did not care. Across the galaxy, the same scene repeated itself. Human ships powered up their engines and set course for home. Defense stations that had protected alien trade routes for decades went dark. Patrol groups that had kept the outer rim safe abandoned their posts. Within 3 weeks, not a single human military vessel remained in Coalition space. The aliens celebrated at first. "Good riddance," they said. "We never needed human brute force anyway. We have our own fleets." But Young-sik knew something they did not. He had fought in every major battle for the past decade. He had seen how other species fought. They were brave enough, but they lacked coordination. They lacked the human ability to work together under pressure. They lacked the willingness to take casualties to protect others. More importantly, they had designed their entire defense strategy around human capabilities. Human ships were faster, so they formed the Rapid Response Force. Human soldiers were more adaptable, so they led the boarding actions. Human commanders were better at creative tactics, so they planned the battles. Without humans, the Galactic Defense Network was not just weakened, it was broken. Back on Earth, in the capital city, Ambassador Tae-hyun sat in a meeting with the Human Council. The room was simple and functional, nothing like the grand alien chambers. President Dong-woo led the discussion, his gray hair and tired eyes showing the weight of his decisions. The military withdrawal is complete, Dong-woo said. Now we move to Phase 2, total economic disengagement. Na-young presented her report. Human corporations control 67% of galactic shipping. We operate the fast cargo routes, the reliable supply chains, the emergency delivery networks. If we pull out, galactic trade will collapse within 6 months. Do it, Dong-woo said simply. Over the next month, human shipping companies canceled every contract with alien clients. Thousands of cargo ships returned to human space. The aliens scrambled to fill the gap with their own vessels. But their ships were slower and less reliable. Routes that took 3 days with human ships now took 10 days with alien ships. Perishable goods rotted. Medical supplies arrived too late. Colonies that depended on regular deliveries found their warehouses empty. In her small apartment, engineer Soo-jin sat at her computer and stared at her work of 15 years. She had maintained the infrastructure of 17 alien star systems, power grids, life support systems, communication networks. She had fixed problems the aliens could not even understand, let alone solve. She had done it because she believed in helping others. Now she deleted every access code. She erased every backup file. She shut down the remote maintenance systems she had built. Let them figure it out themselves, she said to her empty room. Within days, systems began failing across Coalition space. A major power grid on Velcros Prime flickered and died for 3 hours before their engineers managed a temporary fix. Communication networks experienced unexplained crashes. Life support systems showed error codes that no one could interpret. The aliens had relied on human engineers for so long that they had forgotten how their own technology worked. Dr. Jin Ho faced a harder decision. He sat in his office at the Human Medical Institute, looking at the data from his life's work. The Crimson Plague cure, the Gray Death vaccine prototype, advanced surgical techniques, longevity treatments, all of it stored in Coalition databases where alien doctors could access it. His assistant, a young doctor named Bo-ra, stood nearby. "Are you sure about this?" she asked quietly. "They called us tools," Jin-ho said. "They took our medicine and gave nothing back. They let human doctors do all the dangerous work while their doctors stayed safe at home." He began the deletion process. Every file, every research note, every medical protocol that humans had developed. The Coalition databases still had some medical information, but they had lost decades of human advancement. More importantly, they had lost the human doctors who knew how to apply that knowledge. Jin-ho sent out the recall order. Every human doctor working in Coalition space had 1 week to return home. Most were happy to comply. They had worked in hospitals where alien doctors got the credit for human achievements. They had volunteered for plague zones and war zones, while alien medical staff refused the assignments. They were tired of being taken for granted. Trade specialist Yoonbi worked around the clock to untangle 30 years of economic relationships. Every trade agreement, every joint venture, every partnership between human and alien companies. She canceled them all. Her team worked with lawyers to ensure everything was legal and proper. Humans would not break contracts. Humans would not give anyone an excuse to call them dishonorable. But once the current contracts expired, there would be no renewals. "We are completely isolated now," Yoonbi told President Dong-woo. "No trade with Coalition species. No joint projects. No diplomatic relations beyond basic courtesy. We are alone." Dong-woo nodded slowly. "We were always alone. We just pretended otherwise." 3 months after the human delegation walked out of the council chamber, the first real problems began appearing. A minor trade dispute between the Velcrosians and the Drellian Empire turned into a shouting match at a Coalition meeting. Before, human diplomats would have mediated. They were good at it, finding compromises that satisfied everyone. Now there was no one to calm the situation. Within a week, the dispute became a blockade. The Drellians refused to let Velcrosian ships through their space. The Velcrosians threatened military action. Other species took sides. The Coalition that had seemed so strong and unified began to crack. On the outer rim, Pirates grew bold. They had always feared human patrols, fast and relentless. Now those patrols were gone. The remaining coalition ships were slow and predictable. The pirates attacked trade convoys with impunity. 2 colonies were raided and burned. The coalition forces arrived 3 days too late, their ships unable to match the speed of the raiders. A virus appeared on a mining colony. The Gray Death, they called it, because infected victims turned gray before dying. It spread fast, jumping from species to species. The coalition medical teams tried to contain it, but lacked the human expertise in rapid response medicine. What should have been a minor outbreak became an epidemic. The death toll climbed, and still, the aliens did not understand. They sent messages to Earth, demanding that humans return to their duties. They threatened economic sanctions as if they had any leverage left. They insisted that humans were obligated to help, as if obligations worked only one way. Fleet Admiral Miran read the alien demands and laughed coldly. They still think we need them. They still think we will come running back. Captain Youngsik, now stationed at a human border outpost, watched coalition ships struggling with the pirate problem. Part of him wanted to help, but he remembered the contempt in alien voices when they called humans expendable. He remembered friends who died protecting aliens who never learned their names. "Sir, coalition vessel requesting assistance," his communications officer said. "Pirates are attacking their convoy." Youngsik thought about it for a long moment. Then he shook his head. "We are in human space. That is coalition space. Not our problem anymore." The coalition convoy was destroyed. 17 alien ships lost. 300 alien crew members dead. It was just the beginning. Ambassador Tae Hyun sat in his office late at night reading reports from coalition space. Everything was falling apart faster than even Ji-sun had predicted. Part of him felt guilty. People were dying. Economies were collapsing. But another part of him remembered that council chamber. Remembered the laughter. Remembered being called a tool. "They did this to themselves," he said to the empty room. "They just do not know it yet." 1 year after humans walked away from the Galactic Coalition, Chancellor Thelmon called an emergency session. The Grand Council chamber that had once been filled with confident alien delegates now felt empty despite being packed. The mood was different, desperate. Thelmon looked older than before. The purple shimmer of his skin had dulled. His movements were stiff and tired. He had spent a year insisting that humans would return, that the coalition would adapt, that everything would be fine. Now even he could no longer pretend. "We must face facts," Thelmon said, his voice lacking its former confidence. "The situation has become critical." Commander Velkris of the Velkrosian military stood to give his report. He was a decorated officer, veteran of 40 battles. He had always looked down on human soldiers as crude and overly emotional. Now he looked sick. "The Outer Rim colonies are gone," Velkris said bluntly. 16 colonies have been completely destroyed by pirates and raiders. 43 more are under constant attack. We do not have enough ships to protect them. Our fleets are scattered and ineffective. A delegate from the Drellian Empire interrupted. "Your fleets are scattered because you started a war with us over a trade dispute." "A trade dispute that would have been resolved in days if human mediators were still here," Velkris shot back. "Instead, it became a war that has cost us 73 ships. Thelmon raised his hand for silence. "Please continue, Commander." Velkris took a breath. "When we designed our defense strategy 30 years ago, we built it around human capabilities. Human ships were our rapid response force because they were twice as fast as ours. Human tactical networks coordinated our fleet movements because their systems were more efficient. Human soldiers led boarding actions because they trained harder and adapted faster than any other species." He paused and looked around the chamber. "We thought we were using them. We thought they were tools serving our greater purpose. The truth is that they were the foundation. Without them, our entire military structure has collapsed. Our response times have tripled. Our coordination is chaotic. Our soldiers lack the training to handle complex situations. We are not just weaker without humans. We are broken." The chamber erupted in arguments. Some delegates refused to believe it. Others blamed Velkris for poor planning. A few sat in. Stunned silence. Thelmon called for order again. "Economic Minister Draxon has his report." Draxon was a small creature with 4 arms and too many eyes. He specialized in economic analysis and had always believed the coalition was financially stable. His current report said otherwise. "The coalition economy is in free fall," Draxon stated. Before human withdrawal, we had a galactic GDP of 43 trillion credits. Current GDP is 14 trillion and dropping. We lost 67% of our wealth in 1 year. Shocked murmurs filled the chamber. Draxon continued, his voice shaking. We believed we were trading with humans. The reality is that humans were carrying the entire economy. Their shipping networks moved 90% of all goods. Their banking systems processed 85% of all transactions. Their manufacturing produced 70% of all advanced components. When we taxed them at 85%, we thought we were taking their wealth. Actually, we were taking a small fee for the privilege of existing in the system they built. Draxon pulled up a chart. 12 planets are facing starvation because supply chains have broken down. Colonies that received deliveries every 3 days now wait 30 days. Food rots, medicine expires. Manufacturing grinds to a halt because components do not arrive. We cannot fill the gap because we never built our own logistics networks. We relied on humans to do it for us. A delegate from the mining world spoke up. What about our own shipping companies? What about our cargo vessels? Too slow, Draxon said simply. Too unreliable. Too expensive. A human ship could make the run from Velcros Prime to the Outer Rim in 6 days. Our fastest ships take 19 days. Human ships had advanced navigation systems and powerful engines. We never developed those things because we did not need to. The humans did it for us, he closed his report. In short, we are becoming poor very quickly. Within 2 years, many coalition species will face economic collapse. Next came Science Director Quilmara. She was a brilliant researcher from a species known for their intelligence. She looked defeated. We have a technical crisis, Quilmara said. 43 critical infrastructure systems across 18 species are failing. Power grids, communication networks, life support systems, water purification, climate control. All of them were maintained by human engineers. She displayed a list of failures. Last month, the main power grid on Velcros Prime failed completely. It took us 6 days to restore it, and our solution is temporary. We lost the technical documentation when human engineers deleted their files. We are trying to reverse engineer our own technology. A delegate laughed nervously. That is absurd. It is our technology, is it? Quilmara asked. Humans fixed it when it broke. Humans upgraded it when it became outdated. Humans maintained it for 30 years. We stopped training our own engineers because the humans did it better and cheaper. Now we have systems we do not fully understand failing constantly. 3 more colonies lost life support this month. 40,000 people died before we figured out the problem. She pulled up another screen. This is worse. Humans had developed new technologies over the past 30 years. Medical breakthroughs, advanced manufacturing, clean energy, quantum computing. We assumed we would eventually get access to it all through their mandatory sharing agreement. When they left, they deleted everything from coalition databases. We are now 30 years behind on technological advancement, and the gap is widening. The chamber fell silent. The full scope of the disaster was becoming clear. Thelmon looked around at his fellow council members. We also have the Grey Death epidemic. Medical Director Krentha stood slowly. She was an elderly doctor who had trained many human physicians. She had always been kind to humans, one of the few who treated them with respect. Now she delivered the worst news of all. The Grey Death has killed 340 million people. Krentha said quietly. It spread across 7 species in 8 months. We cannot stop it. We cannot cure it. Our best medical teams are completely overwhelmed. She paused, her voice breaking. Human doctors could have handled this. Dr. Jinho was developing a vaccine prototype before they left. His research notes are gone. We tried to contact him directly. He did not respond. The Human Medical Institute will not return our messages. Krentha continued. We drove away the best doctors in the galaxy. Human medicine was 50 years ahead of coalition medicine. They developed cures for diseases we thought were incurable. They performed surgeries we thought were impossible. They did it for free, asking nothing in return except basic respect. We gave them contempt instead. She sat down heavily. Current projections suggest the Grey Death will kill 200 million more before it burns itself out. If it burns out, we simply do not know. The chamber was silent for a long time. Finally, a young delegate from a minor species stood up. Her name was Shendara, and she had always argued for better treatment of humans. We did this to ourselves, Shendara said. We treated humans like servants, like slaves. We took everything they built and gave nothing back. We mocked them. We laughed at them. We called them tools. And when they finally had enough and left, we expected them to come crawling back. They did not come back. They will not come back. And we are paying the price for our arrogance, Thelmon wanted to argue, but he could not. Everything Shandara said was true. What do you propose? He asked. Send an envoy to Earth, Shandara said. Offer them real equality. True partnership. Equal voting rights. Equal trade terms. A genuine apology. Humans are not cruel people. If we approach them with honesty and humility, they might help us. Thelmon nodded slowly. Very well. Delegate Shandara, you will lead the envoy to Earth. Offer them whatever terms are necessary. We need them back. As the meeting ended, Velkris approached Shandara privately. Do you really think they will return? Shandara looked at him sadly. I think we do not deserve their help. But I have to try. Too many people are dying. She prepared for the journey to Earth, knowing it might be hopeless. Humans had built their own civilization while the Coalition fell apart. They had proven they did not need the Coalition. The real question was whether the Coalition had anything left to offer them. The shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, carrying Delegate Shandara and her small team. She pressed her face against the window, looking at the planet below. She had visited Earth twice before, many years ago. It looked different now. Bigger cities, more space stations, new orbital construction that dwarfed anything in Coalition space. Earth had grown while the Coalition collapsed. Her assistant, a nervous young clerk named Prindal, sat beside her. Do you think they will even see us? He asked. They will see us, Shandara said. Humans are polite. They will listen. Whether they agree to help is another matter. The shuttle landed at the capital city spaceport. The facility was massive and efficient, processing hundreds of ships daily. Shandara noticed human vessels of types she had never seen before. Sleeker designs, better engines. New technology developed in just 1 year of isolation. A government escort met them at the landing pad. The human woman was professional but cold. Ambassador Tae-hyun will see you in 1 hour. Please follow me. They were taken to the United Humanity Summit Hall, a simple but elegant building. Nothing like the grand crystal chambers of Coalition space. Just clean lines and functional design. Shandara found it refreshing. The meeting room was small. Ambassador Tae-hyun sat at a simple table with his former team. Ji-sun worked on her datapad. Ha-ae-won reviewed documents. Sung-ho stood near the wall, arms crossed. Na-young watched the aliens with undisguised hostility. They all looked healthy and well-rested. The stress that had marked their faces during Coalition meetings was gone. Delegate Shandara, Tae-hyun said with a polite nod. Please sit. Shandara took a seat across from him. She placed a data chip on the table. I come with new terms from the Galactic Coalition. Chancellor Thelmon sends his regards and his apologies. Tae-hyun did not reach for the chip. Go on, Shandara took a breath. The Coalition recognizes that previous terms were unfair. We offer the following revised agreement. Trade taxation reduced from 85% to 40%. Human voting rights increased from half a seat to 1.5 seats. Removal of all oversight governors from human colonies, and a formal public apology from the Council for disrespectful treatment. She waited. Tae-hyun said nothing. Ji-sun did not even look up from her datapad. These are substantial improvements, Shandara said. The Council is willing to negotiate further on specific points. Finally, Ji-sun spoke without looking up. Still not equal treatment. Still taxation higher than any other species. Still fewer votes than species with half our contribution. Still no compensation for 30 years of exploitation. Shandara felt her heart sink. She tried again. People are dying. The Grey Death has killed hundreds of millions. Your doctors could stop it. Our doctors, he once said coldly. The same doctors you called tools. The same doctors who worked plague zones while alien medical staff refused to go. The same doctors whose research you tried to steal with your mandatory sharing agreement. Shandara turned to her with desperation. I know we treated you badly. But innocent people are suffering. Children are dying. Surely your compassion. Do not talk to us about compassion, Sung-ho interrupted. His voice was quiet but hard as steel. I lost 300 people defending your colonies. Good people. Brave people. They died protecting aliens who called them expendable. Where was your compassion when we buried them? He stepped forward, his face twisted with old pain. I wrote letters to their families. I told parents their children died heroes. I told wives their husbands saved thousands of lives. And you know what those families asked me? They asked why the aliens never said thank you, why their loved ones died for people who did not care. The room fell silent. Shandara had no answer. The door opened and Fleet Admiral Miran entered. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had commanded human fleets for 20 years. She had saved more alien lives than Shandara could count. I heard we had visitors, Miran said. She sat down next to Taehyun. Let me guess. The Outer Rim colonies are falling apart without our patrols. Pirates are running wild. Your defense networks do not work properly. You want us to come back and fix it? Shandara nodded slowly. Yes, Miran laughed bitterly. I spent 2 decades protecting Coalition space. My crews worked double shifts. We responded to every distress call. We fought battles while Coalition fleets stayed safely behind our lines. And when I reported casualties, do you know what the Council said? They said humans reproduce quickly, so losses were acceptable. She leaned forward. My crews were not livestock. They were people. They had families. They had dreams. They sacrificed everything for a coalition that saw them as tools. I will not send them back to die for you again. Prindal spoke up nervously. But surely some compromise can be reached. The coalition is willing to pay for human services now. Nayoung finally put down her tablet. Pay us with what? Your economy collapsed. You have nothing we want. We are richer now than we ever were in the coalition. She pulled up financial reports. 1 year ago, human GDP was 12 trillion credits. We paid you 7 trillion in taxes and received minimal benefits. Our actual wealth was 5 trillion. Today, human GDP is 18 trillion. We kept all of it. We invested in ourselves. We are making more money alone than we ever made working for you. Shandara felt tears forming. She was losing. Please, I am not asking for myself. I am asking for the billions of people who are suffering. Many of them never disrespected humans. Many of them supported you. Do they deserve to die because of the Council's mistakes? President Dongwu entered the room. He was the leader of all humanity, and his presence carried weight. He sat down at the head of the table. That is a fair question, Dongwu said, and it is the question we have debated for the past year. The answer is no. Innocent people do not deserve to suffer. But the answer is also that we are not responsible for coalition problems anymore. He looked at Shandara directly. You ask about our compassion. Let me ask about yours. Where was your compassion when we were exploited? Where was your compassion when we were mocked? Where was your compassion when young humans died defending your worlds? Dongwu stood up. For 30 years we tried to earn your respect. We built your infrastructure. We healed your sick. We defended your colonies. We did everything right. And you treated us like slaves. You called us tools. Hugh laughed at us, his voice hardened. Then we left. We did not attack you. We did not sabotage your systems. We did not spread lies about you. We simply walked away and built our own future. And now you come here asking us to save you. Not offering real equality. Not offering true partnership. Offering slightly better terms than the slave contract you tried to force on us. He turned to Shandara. You seem like a good person. I believe you genuinely care about the suffering in coalition space. But caring is not enough. The Council wants our help without truly changing. They want to use us again, just with better manners this time. That is not acceptable. Young Admiral Hyunwoo entered the room. He was in his early 30s, one of the youngest admirals in human history. He had lost his entire squadron defending a Velcrosian colony 2 years ago. He was the only survivor. I was at the Battle of Kelthro Station, Hyunwoo said quietly. Velcrosian civilians were trapped. Pirates were closing in. My squadron held the line until evacuation was complete. 43 ships, 800 crew, all dead except me. He looked at Shandara with hollow eyes. After the battle, I waited for someone from Velcros to contact me. To say thank you. To acknowledge what my people sacrificed. No one ever did. The official report listed human casualties as acceptable losses. 800 people reduced to a number in a file. Hyunwoo's voice cracked. So no, delegate. I will not send my people back to die for yours. I will not let another squadron burn while aliens safe at home call them expendable. Shandara stood up. She knew she had failed. What will it take? True equality. We can offer that. Equal votes. Equal taxation. Equal representation. Taehyun finally spoke again. It is not about offers anymore. It is about trust. You broke our trust. You cannot buy it back with better contract terms. He walked to the window and looked out at the city. Maybe someday. Maybe when coalition species truly understand that we are partners, not tools. Maybe when you prove you have changed not just your terms but your attitudes. But that day is not today. Shandara gathered her things. I understand. Thank you for seeing me. As she left, she turned back one more time. For what it is worth, I am sorry. Many of us are sorry. I believe you, Taehyun said. But sorry does not fix what is broken. Only time and actions can do that. The human delegation watched the alien shuttle lift off. Ji-sun broke the silence. They still do not understand. They think this is about negotiations. It is not. What is it about? Na-young asked. Dignity, Taehyun said simply. We walked away to preserve our dignity. We will not go back until they understand what that means. 5 years after humanity walked away from the Galactic Coalition, two very different realities had emerged across the galaxy. The contrast between them was so stark that historians would later call this period the Great Divergence. In Coalition space, the crisis had become permanent. The war between the Velcrosians and Drellians had ended not in victory, but in exhaustion. Both sides had lost millions of lives and hundreds of ships. Neither side had won. They simply ran out of resources to continue fighting. The peace agreement was really just an agreement to stop destroying each other. Chancellor Thelmon had been removed from power 3 years ago. Too many failures. Too many disasters. Too much suffering under his leadership. The new council led by Shandara tried to rebuild, but there was so little left to work with. The Grey Death had finally burned itself out, but only after killing nearly 500 million people across 7 species. Entire colony worlds had been depopulated. The medical infrastructure was overwhelmed. The psychological trauma would take generations to heal. Trade had recovered slightly but was still at 30% of what it had been. Shipping remained slow and expensive without human logistics networks. Many colonies had been abandoned because they could not maintain supply lines. The Outer Rim was now called the Dead Rim. 27 colonies destroyed. Their populations either killed by pirates or evacuated to overcrowded core worlds. Technologically, the coalition had stagnated. Without human innovation and engineering, they could barely maintain existing systems, let alone develop new ones. The gap between their technology and human technology grew wider every year. But the worst part was not the physical damage. It was the loss of unity. The coalition that had once claimed to represent all civilized species now held together only through habit and fear. Species blamed each other for the disasters. Old grudges resurfaced. New conflicts emerged. Without humans to mediate and protect, the coalition was slowly falling apart. Shandara sat in the council chamber, now much emptier than it used to be. She had tried her best. She had pushed through reforms. She had ended the worst corruption. She had established genuine equality among coalition species, but it was like trying to repair a house after the foundation had crumbled. The structure could not be saved. We have received another request for human assistance, her aide informed her. A mining colony is requesting human engineers to fix their life support systems. Denied, Shandara said tiredly. Humans have made their position clear. They will not help us until we prove we have truly changed. If we keep begging, we only prove we have not learned. Meanwhile, in human space, a completely different story was unfolding. Captain Young Sik walked through the corridors of the new flagship, the Humanity's Dawn. The ship was twice the size of his old vessel and equipped with technology that would have seemed like magic 5 years ago. Human engineers, freed from the burden of maintaining alien infrastructure, had poured their creativity into advancement. The new star drives could cross the galaxy in days instead of weeks. The weapon systems were precise and powerful. The shields could withstand impacts that would have destroyed older ships. But more importantly, the ship represented a philosophy. It was not built to protect others. It was built to protect humanity. Status report, Young Sik ordered. All systems optimal, Captain, his first officer replied. We are ready to begin patrol of the new territories. The new territories. Human expansion had been rapid once they stopped wasting resources on the coalition. 30 new colonies established in 5 years. Terraforming projects on a dozen more worlds. Mining operations in resource-rich systems the coalition had deemed too remote to bother with. And humans had not expanded alone. Species that the coalition had ignored or marginalized had eagerly joined human space. Small civilizations that could not compete with coalition powers found protection and partnership with humanity, not as tools or servants, but as genuine equals. In the capital city, Dr. Jin Ho walked through the Human Medical Institute. The facility was enormous now, filled with cutting-edge equipment and brilliant researchers. Without having to share everything with the coalition, human medical science had advanced faster than anyone had predicted. "Doctor, the longevity treatment is ready for final trials," his assistant Bora said excitedly. Jin Ho smiled. They had been working on this for 3 years, a treatment that could extend human lifespan to 150 years or more. Healthy, active years, not just adding time but adding quality of life. "Begin the trials," he said. "And Bora, make sure the results are published in our journals only, not in coalition databases." It was not cruelty. It was simply reality. Human research was human property now. If the coalition wanted access to human medicine, they could negotiate for it as equals. No more mandatory sharing, no more one-way generosity. Engineer Su Jin stood in a massive shipyard, watching construction of a new generation of cargo vessels. These ships would make human trade routes even faster and more efficient. Human economy had grown by 40% in 5 years. Without coalition taxation, humans kept their wealth. Without coalition regulations, human companies could innovate freely. "The designs are beautiful," said her colleague, a young engineer named Minho. "We could sell these to the coalition for a fortune." Su Jin shook her head. "We will not sell them anything. Let them build their own ships. We did it. So can they." Economic expert Yunbi gave a presentation to the Human Council. "Our GDP is now 32 trillion credits. We have achieved levels of prosperity that would have been impossible under coalition taxation. Unemployment is at record lows. Innovation is at record highs. Every metric shows that isolation was the correct choice economically." President Dongwu listened carefully. He was older now, planning to retire soon, but he wanted to see humanity fully established before he left office. "What about the coalition?" he asked. "Latest reports?" "Struggling," Yunbi said bluntly. "Their GDP is still below half of what it was. They are stable enough to survive, but not stable enough to thrive. Some analysts predict the coalition will eventually collapse completely." Dongwu nodded slowly. "And their recent diplomatic overtures?" 5 official requests for human assistance in the past year," Yunbi reported. "All sent through proper channels. All more respectful than before. They are offering genuine equality now. Equal votes, equal taxation, true partnership." The room fell silent. This was the question everyone had been avoiding. Should humanity return to the coalition? Ambassador Tae-hyun, now retired from active diplomacy but still consulted on important matters, sat in his garden at New Seoul Colony. His old team had gathered for lunch. Ji-sun, now a senior government advisor. Hyewan teaching at the Diplomatic Academy. Sung-ho training the next generation of military leaders. Na-young running a major economic think tank. "The council is sending another delegation," Ji-sun announced. "Shendara again. She is asking for a meeting to discuss partnership, not employment partnership. What do you think?" Hee-won asked Tae-hyun. He watched children playing in the garden. Human children who had never known what it felt like to be treated as lesser beings. Children who grew up proud of being human, not apologetic for it. "I think," Tae-hyun said slowly, "that we should meet with her, not because we need the coalition. We clearly do not. But because enough time has passed. Enough suffering has occurred. Maybe they have finally learned the lesson. And if they have not," Sung-ho asked, "then we politely decline and continue as we are," Tae-hyun said. "We are happy. We are prosperous. We are free. We do not need their approval or their trade. If they want to join us, they must do so as true equals. Nothing less," Na-young smiled slightly. "They still do not understand how much the power dynamic has shifted. They think they are offering us a place at their table. They do not realize we have built a better table." Across the galaxy, Shendara prepared for another journey to Earth. She had spent 5 years reforming the coalition. 5 years trying to prove that they had changed. 5 years hoping that humanity might give them another chance. She knew the odds were not good. Humans had built a civilization that surpassed the coalition in every way. They had proven they did not need the coalition to survive. More than that, they had proven they were better off without it. But she had to try. Because the alternative was watching the coalition slowly die. Because billions of people deserved better than endless decline. Because maybe, just maybe, humans would show mercy even when they did not owe it. Her aide asked the question that haunted her. What if they say no again? Shandara looked out at the stars. Then we accepted. We learned to survive on our own. We acknowledge that we destroyed something precious through our arrogance, and we live with the consequences. On Earth, the Human Council debated. Some argued for engagement. Some argued for continued isolation. Some proposed a middle path. Fleet Admiral Miran, now elderly but still sharp, offered her perspective. They took us for granted. They learned what happens when you exploit your strongest partners. Whether we help them now is not about what they deserve. It is about what kind of people we want to be. Young Admiral Hyunwoo, who had lost his squadron years ago, spoke with hard-earned wisdom. I will never forget the disrespect. I will never forget my dead crew. But I also remember that my crew died to protect people. That was their choice. They were not tools. They were heroes. Maybe the best way to honor them is to remember why they served in the first place. President Dongwu made the decision. We will meet with Shandara. We will listen to the coalition's proposal. We will consider partnership, but on our terms, equal terms. If they cannot accept that, then we remain apart. Ambassador Tai-hyun received the message and smiled. Good, let them come. Let us see if they have truly learned. And if they have not, we will continue our path alone. We have proven we do not need them. Now let us see if we want them. The galaxy waited. Two paths had emerged. One of decline and struggle. One of growth and prosperity. Whether they would merge again or continue to diverge remained to be seen. But humanity had learned the most important lesson. They did not need anyone's permission to be great. They did not need anyone's approval to be free. They had walked away from negotiations 5 years ago, and the galaxy had paid the price. Now the question was whether the galaxy had learned its lesson. Time would tell. But humanity would be fine either way. They had each other. They had their dignity. They had built something remarkable, and they would never apologize for that.